and welcome to A Balanced Life. I'm Patricia, and I'm so happy that you're joining me in this conversation and in this community around self care, especially for those of us in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. You know, reaching this stage in our lives is exciting, and also maybe there's some fear. You know, there's a lot of unknowns ahead. You know, just when we figured we had adulthood figured out, along comes this next chapter. Well, I am looking for community around this to help me grapple and thrive, not just survive in this next stage of our lives. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm hopeful that together we're going to have some really invigorating conversations around this next chapter. I've been working in this field for almost 10 years, studying a lot about self care, and it certainly has become far more mainstream than it used to. When I first came to YouTube looking for community, there was a lot of information around skin routines and what to wear, and depending upon the shape of your body, all these things. And I love that content for sure. This channel is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be leaning more into our inner health as opposed to our exterior health. So, the choices that we make each day that help us live and create the life that we want to live and that we're hoping is in our future. As I said, we want to thrive, not just survive. So, who am I now? This is the question I've been grappling with, and I wonder if you are too. At this point in our lives, for a lot of us, our children have gone or they've grown up and they're still at home with us. And maybe our work life has changed. But for sure, we're undergoing some mental health or physical health or emotional health, or maybe all three changes and evolutions. You know, it's a journey for sure. And I think about then, who am I now? Who am I today? And who do I want to be tomorrow? I'm not the same person I was when I was in my 20s, 30s, or 40s. And I'm grateful for that. I have a lot of compassion and I care a lot about that younger version of myself. She was really doing the best she could. She made some choices that made her life harder on herself. And she also made some choices that brought the best times of her life and the best people and the best relationships into her life. I've certainly had a lot of love and I've had loss. And I'm sure you've experienced all, if not some of that as well. So I think about, who am I now? And how do I know who I am? Well, I start with reflection. And I do that with a journal. So in the previous video, in our first video, I talked about how I'm hopeful that on this channel, we're going to have an exchange of ideas and we're going to share some practices and some tools that we can have in our self-care toolkit that we can pull out as we need them. I like to think of them as self-care snacks, right? Not everything has to take an hour. Some things can take 30 seconds. This one is 90 seconds. For 90 seconds, I can journal. I can do what I call a brain dump and just whatever's on my mind, put it on the page. Now, this is actually an evidence-based practice that says, the science, the research says that if you, for even just 90 seconds, do a brain dump, write down what's on your mind and in your heart, it'll have the same physiological effect as talking to a friend. Now, we don't get any feedback, but I think what it's telling us is that rather than having something ruminate, if we put pen to paper and write it out, then it's out of ourselves, right? We've gotten it out of our heads and we've compartmentalized it in a way, right? Even the act of writing it, that practice helps us just work through things. So the 90-second brain dump, that is kind of going to be the tool that we're using today. How we're going to use it today, though, is, and this is something you do on your own time, or you can do it as we're chatting, but journaling is a practice that can be utilized in many ways. What I'm suggesting we do today is use it to figure out, Who am I? So we start with reflection. I think about where I am, the circumstances of my life, my physical circumstances, my emotional and mental, my spirit, my mind, and my body. And how am I feeling about all of these things? What are the things that I'd like to bring into my life that I don't have? Maybe I dream about that. Maybe I also have to be discerning and think about the things that no longer serve me, right? Maybe it's some physical clutter. Maybe I just need to get rid of some of these books, right? Maybe I have too many dishes. Whatever it is, maybe I even need to have a bigger conversation around downsizing. Doesn't matter. It can be small things, it can be big things, but what maybe no longer serves me, and in fact, having it here is becoming a detriment. So we just reflect, creating the physical space that makes me happy, the emotional and mental space as well. When I want to dig deeper into the emotional side of this life, and really about making any choices, I reflect on my values. So again, self-care is extremely individual. What works for me won't necessarily work for you. But again, the sharing of ideas, it might inspire us in some way or give us something else, a different way to think about bringing self-care and a self-care tool into our lives. Values are individual. They're based on, the kind, what makes you happy, what brings you fulfillment, what makes you of service, if these things are important to you. Is it about relationships? Is it about material things? There's no wrong answer and there's no shame in this either. Okay, your value system. So we think about our values. And this is always evolving for me. Honestly, my values, certainly from my 30s, have changed to now. And my value system maybe 5 years ago was different than now. It's evolved. I'm sure I'm still at my core, very similar to that person 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. But life has changed me, and life will change me. So when I think about who am I now, I'm trying to let go of those things of who I thought I was that doesn't serve me anymore, that really no longer reflects the life that I am living or want to live. Values are also about choices. So I get to choose based on my value system, based on the things that are important to me, who and what and how I live my life. Who with what, and how. And then we think about boundaries. So boundaries are not about keeping people out. When I think about boundaries, I'm thinking about, again, from myself. Self-care begins and ends with me. It's about my inner health. So how far and how much can I give of myself before it's a detriment to myself? Self-care isn't about controlling other people. So when I think about boundaries within self-care, I'm not trying to control anybody else. I'm controlling myself, right? I'm understanding about my own self-regulation and self-resilience, right? And self-reliance on understanding my limitations and then how I can then communicate best those needs and expectations for other people. Okay, so I've reflected, I've thought of thinking about my values, I'm thinking about my boundaries, and then I'm thinking about community. Who do I want to be surrounded by and who do I want to be with? Well, I can tell you right now, I'm happy that we're here together because I think this channel is going to become increasingly important for me in my own self-care journey. And I'm hoping that it will be for you too, that we can find meaningful conversation around this time in our lives. So I write these things down. I think about who I want. I want a strong, vibrant community around self-care. I want a good friend. I want good relationships with the people that are close to me, and I want to build on those, and I want to deepen those. And maybe it's in your professional life. Maybe you have colleagues who you connect with and you have a shared purpose or a mission around your work. Or maybe you have a place where you work where you're going there for your paycheck. And honestly, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be more than that, right? Because you're taking that job and the time that you spend there and you're making something meaningful for yourself out of it, right? I used to say to my kids, you have lots of choices about what you do in this life and why you do what you do. You can work every day because of passion. Maybe you're creative, maybe you're an artist, maybe you love architecture, maybe you love gardening, and so that's your passion, and that's the work life that you follow, and you have a very fulfilling career that way, a very fulfilling life. But maybe your passion and your interest is outside of your work life. So the job that you do feeds and allows you to have a vibrant life outside of your work that is fulfilling, that deepens you, and that gives you joy. Both are perfectly wonderful and appropriate and not wrong. So we have choices in that way. If you are still working like I am, then I hope that your work is fulfilling. And if it's not, I hope that it's fulfilling the life you want outside of your job. Okay, so reflection, values, boundaries, connection to community, and then choice with our voice. So, are you using your voice, or are you making choices that align with the value system that you've set for yourself, that are in keeping within your boundaries that you've set for yourself? Are they creating the community that you want? So when I think of something, let's talk about physical health. I'm on the couch, it's been a long day, and I'm very content and happy to sit there, but I really haven't moved enough, let's say. I could get up and walk around outside, and I struggle sometimes. Now, this is a very small example, but maybe you can relate. I know that if I got up and walked even for 15 or 20 minutes, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to feel better and I'm going to sleep better and my physical health will be better because of it. But for some reason, I sometimes still struggle. And what I try to remember in that moment is, who am I now and who do I want to be? If I want to be somebody who can get up and walk for 15 or 20 minutes in 10 years, I'm going to have to be doing that now. So that's making a choice, me thinking about what it is I want, what is of value to me, and how can I bring that value-based idea and choice into my life. You know what? How I can do that is I can get up and walk for 15 or 20 minutes. So, small example, but I think it does show how there are ways that we can bring choice and voice for ourselves into our daily lives. There is a lot that's out of our control, but the things that we do have control over, are we choosing the things that help us live the best life right now and set us up for a life we want in our future? So journaling was the practice for today. And I encourage you to spend maybe 10-15 minutes in the morning or 10-15 minutes before you go to bed at night journaling. There are lots of different practices around journaling. Some people like to write gratitude pages. Just 3 things every night that you're grateful for. You write those down, and in 10 days, 20 days, you look back, and it's amazing the memories of joy that come back to you. And they do not have to be grand gestures. They can be, I'm grateful for that the day is over. That's good enough. I'm grateful that it rained today. Anything for the gratitude. Some people start their day with the gratitude journal because they wake up maybe with some anxiety, maybe some nervous energy, and if they write down what they're grateful for, it helps just settle their mind, putting a more positive outlook on their day. Okay, so I would like to thank you so much. I want to encourage you to leave a comment and share tips or tools, or maybe even chat about if a practice like this has served you. And I'm hoping to share some of those comments in the near future, and look forward to exploring with you more ways we can bring self-care into our daily lives. So congratulations, we've made it to our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now together we're going to build a life of vitality and joy as we head into the future. Have a great day and do something kind for yourself.